Matthew. Thanks for joining us. So you are a certified sports therapist.
Correct.
And you've just done a demonstration prior to this, which is available on the website, demonstrating diaphragmatic breathing. So that is for people who have a compromised respiratory system, so people with asthma or COPD. I guess, first of all, people might want to know sports therapy. What is the correlation between sports therapy and general health? How can you help the average person? Because when they hear sports, they, I guess,
assume sports.
Yeah.
Well, sports therapy is a healthcare discipline that belongs to the field of sports medicine. And what sports medicine is interested in is how can we optimize a person's physical capacity and ability to move, be healthy, and have longevity. And that's specifically what sports medicine focuses on through different means. Now, sports therapy isn't just for athletes. Typically, we do get a lot of sports individuals and athletes that work with sports medicine professionals, which is obvious. However, it's for anyone. It's for anyone who wants to optimize their physical ability to move and have health, and that's really what it's about. Through natural means as well. Like everyone's body needs exercise.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So
it makes sense, basically, yeah, which is good. So I guess I'm just thinking about how I'm breathing now, and I'm not breathing properly. So diaphragmatic breathing through from the diaphragm. Why isn't this common knowledge if it's so useful? Why isn't the average person taught to breathe properly?
So when
it can make such a vast difference, can't it?
Yeah, it can really have a significant impact on your health. But the reasons why it's not common is why are the reasons why it's not common? That's a very peculiar question. And the reason why I say that is because you have to look at the different populations and groups that use... Wait, let me explain it a different way. Within sports, for example, it's common knowledge. It's a common practice. With in Eastern practices like yoga, for example, is common practice. With divers and people who swim underwater, it's common practice. So there's pockets of people and groups that utilize breathing exercises where they've got a long history of using breathing exercises. So when I think about who's not utilizing breathing exercises or who has a less of an awareness of breathing exercises, I think of the medical industry, doctors, nurses, and a wide spectrum of medical healthcare professionals. However, if I was to cherry pick a type of profession out of the medical industry, it would be the respiratory physiotherapists. For them, this would be common knowledge. They will be aware of how to use breathing exercises, which ones are going to be the best, which ones are going to be able to help you if you've got asthma, COPD, and an array of respiratory compromises. So, but I'm not quite sure why within the medical establishment these practices are less likely to be used, or they're not a first point of call.
Yeah.
Because there is a very big body of evidence and literature to really support the utility of breathing exercises. I think it will change over the years, just how within sports medicine we've adopted the breathing exercises, so it may change within the future.
Okay, so alongside diaphragmatic breathing, what other things could people do to help improve their breathing quality, or that they could use to help prevent them from recovering from an illness like a virus or flu? We know that in areas where there's a high population of black people, there's poor air quality. So what kind of other things could people do to help them?
Well, the first thing we need to be aware of is actually we can't stop pollution, which would be my first point of call. If I could change the air quality on the whole earth, I would go by changing pollution. I would do that first. However, that's not practical for everyone. We can control our emissions and turn our light switches off and stuff like that, but I'm not talking about things of that nature to do. I want to think of it. I want to tackle it from some practical perspectives. So one of the things that we could do is look at the plants that we have in the house. Do we have plants? And if we don't, can we consider potentially getting some plants? And if we are going to get some plants, can we put a bit of time into researching which plants are going to have the most oxygen production? So if we've got plants that can increase the amount of oxygen in the air, we have a increase in oxygen molecules for us to breathe in when we inhale. So I would consider plants. I would also look at the amount of moisture that's in the air. If the air quality, if the air within your house is quite dry, you could get a humidifier which puts moisture back into the air, which will help the condition of the air that you breathe in when it goes into the lungs. Also, if the air was had too much moisture, you could get a dehumidifier, which would reduce the amount of humidity and moisture that's within the air. So these things can really improve your ability to breathe. And also, you could even consider using essential oils like eucalyptus,
peppermint.
And,
I use that regularly.
Your citrus-based oils as well. So things like that can really help open the airway. So simple
or
things
even
that you could do.
take a day trip.
Take a day trip, walk out
to the countryside, get walking a little bit. I mean, obviously we're in the West Midlands, but we're surrounded by so much greenery. I went to the Malvern Hills, which was amazing, Cotswolds. And sometimes it's just either a train ticket or just find other people. Actually, I'm going to plug a organisation called We Go Outside Too. So that's led by a gentleman who does regular walks, and that's outside to get the black community involved in a little bit more rural living, hiking. It's really good for kids. And just going outside of the city for a day is really good, again, for our health, for our lungs. So where can people find you? You're a mobile sports therapist, so you travel and
I travel around Birmingham, generally the West Midlands. You can find me on the typical social media platforms or my website, which is www.holisticpainrehab.com. And my name is Mathew Henry. You can reach me on typical social media platforms by email or by phone.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much for talking to us, Mathew.